In the 20s, also known as The Sims 2, this was a property owned by the prominent Goth family, founders of the city, which served as its cemetery. The spooky environment favored Bella Goth, a witch who, skilled in magic, performed various experiments in the grounds of what would grow to be a famous hotel. In face of Bella's disappearance, her husband Mortimer Goth built a hotel on this same lot so he could bounce back from this tragedy. When he died, his only son Alexander inherited the hotel but did not continue the business, for he intended to be a scientist, and just like that, the building fell into abandonment. The land grabs, which also built up the city and whose wealth appears to come from property and real estate, bought the abandoned hotel to increase their large corporation years later. To make a proper heir out of Malcolm Landgrab, Nancy attempts to turn her son into a voracious business tycoon like her. And as proof he is capable of running the land grab industries in the future, Malcolm manages the hotel, starting with a major renovation. However, there is something in the way of his success in the business that only Bella Goth's Book of Spells can repair. It can be found to this day within the hotel walls, and Malcolm will be searching for it to get rid of the death and misfortune that lies in the ancient building. Hello everyone! Welcome to the speed build for the storyline you just listened to. This is my entry to Devon Bumpkin's contest, in which you have to make an abandoned hotel look brand new again. Aiden built the whole thing and it looked amazing with all the cracks and marks of the small emptiness from the Vampires game pack. But because I don't have that pack yet, when I placed it in my game, it was absolutely empty. And to be honest, it saved me a lot of time from removing it. But on the other hand, I had to come up with a whole new aesthetic to it, and I struggled quite a bit with the colors and the style, but I think it looks great in the end. For the garden just here, I wanted to do something very manicured, like these places usually are, but I just don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I try my best, I like greenery, and I think it can change a building in so many levels. And I went with mostly yellow flowers, just in there you can see at the front, so I could feel a little happier about it because they're my favorite color. So yeah, also I've shown you in the beginning the before and after of the hotel because I thought it would be a nice touch, and to do so I had to get that footage from Aiden's original video. So yeah, I hope that's okay. There's a few limitations to the exterior as part of the contest, of course, such as not being able to change the shape of the build, which is quite Victorian and traditionally from the 20s. That, by the way, I did a pun, it was a Sims 2. Get it? um, and it's not the type of architecture I normally go for, but I worked on it so that I could have a fairly contemporary design on the interior. And just out here we have a little patio with this sort of garden nook that I did, and I thought it was really cool. So we're jumping on the interior now, and this is the sort of lobby where you get in and check in for a stay in the hotel. And just right there behind the counter, there's like those grand doors that are not really accessible because I thought you could be maybe like an old elevator or a lift, as some of you might call it, that couldn't be removed when they were renovating. So that's kind of like a touch um, from the older build. So when I think of hotels, I have a few keywords in mind, like columns, shiny floors, grand staircases, and furniture. But I never stayed at a hotel before, so I was a bit unsure on how to manage the rooms and everything. But yeah, we have a kitchen and an eating area with a bar just here, quite informal. Which is where you have like breakfast and something like that. I wanted to give it a little pop of color with those red chairs that maybe aren't enough, but this is a quite big hotel, but you're probably not going to have more than 8 sims in here, so that should be fine. And we also have a formal fancy dining, and where's there's a fireplace and a painting like for the goth lady I imagined for my story. And this is just like some sort of hallway to get in between the rooms. Like maybe if the workers here have to get to one room from one another, they don't need to go down the stairs for it. Um, and yeah, it's also where the old elevator should go. One thing though is that this build is not symmetrical. As much as I tried to make it look like one, it just wasn't. And I spent so long just trying to, just managing these staircases in there so they could look like double staircases. And oh my god, do we need spiral staircases or just L-shaped staircases in general? Because I don't want to like keep doing foundations to them and like cutting the room, making it sunken just so I can have something like an L-shaped stair. And it's just quite annoying because there are some glitches to it, and yeah, I just can't deal with that, but they look so good. So I just did it for this build. And I done some sort of patterning on the floor tiles in the lobby there, just so I could give that sort of hotel look to it. And I think it looks okay. I wouldn't normally dare to do it, but since it's not symmetrical and it was just like not working, I've done some fencing. Like I used one of the in-game fence to kind of make my own pattern and make it not look so weird. And I don't know, perhaps it made it look even weirder. But anyway, this is the lounge area where you'd go and chat and wait for your room to be ready, or I don't know. And also, I've tried to put curtains in this build because I figured you need some privacy in a place like this. And I always struggled so much with curtains because either they're ugly or like just don't really go with the style of the build, or like this ones right here that just are like what, and either they're not good or they don't fit, or like it just doesn't work, and it's a nightmare. I think we definitely need more curtains, and especially for me that I don't have all the packs, I struggled quite a bit with it sometimes. But I still like the look of them, and sometimes it's necessary to have them. And this is just a little bathroom, actually two bathrooms in the downstairs. So yeah, obviously, it's like for someone who's not checked in the hotel yet, and they're both really just similar, and I'm not going to show you all of them. But this is the kitchen, and it turned out a lot more homely than I thought it would, because I think it's because of all the clutter items I placed in, and just how I decorated it in general. It doesn't look too commercial, and yeah, I think it suits the hotel. It's probably the darkest room we have because the rest of the hotel is just really black and white, and we insert some brown colors just in here with this wood, and which is quite dark. So yeah, I think it's a little bit different, but it still suits the hotel. And about the clutter, I think that if I was a chef, I would probably want my kitchen to be very lived in and friendly, and just like the nice environment to work in. So I don't think it's really that weird. I worked my way around it as best as I could. And honestly, if you're going to have a chef to cook for your Sims, you probably would have to have a host a dinner party or something and have the chef to come in and hire them. And we're going on the second floor now, yay! With another fireplace that I've tried to put in exactly where it should go, because I often tend to just like leave the hole in the wall for the fireplace but then just forget it. So yeah, I try to put fireplaces where there should be fireplaces and also decorate a little bit around it. But we just have this sort of chilling area here, a little library where you can, I don't know, come in and chill with your books. Or yeah, we also adding the piano in there, just so it looks extra fancy. And I think it just needed that in the lounge just to finish it up. And although we had to get rid of some of the couches and sofas, we put in the piano to look more fancy, I think. And this area here is also quite different because we have that sort of contemporary painting, like what is that? A wall decoration? It's not really a painting because it like kind of pops out. Um, but yeah, the layout for this also took me quite a while to figure out because I wanted to fit in as many rooms as possible whilst working their shape to connect with one another, and the outside that I couldn't change. And there's also, I forgot to say, that classic look down to the entrance from the second floor. And I wanted to implement that, and it probably took a lot more room than it should, but makes me happy because it's exactly the hotel look I have in mind. And all of the rooms have the same furniture but different arrangements to them due to each of them having extremely different shapes from one another, and some are bigger, like this master suite sort of thing right here we're working on, and some are smaller that maybe could be the cheaper rooms. um, However, all rooms have their suites, of course, and there's also those additional bathrooms in the ground floor that you saw before. Um, and yeah, one of the rooms is more romantic in the sense that they have a staircase and the access to the roof, where there's a small suite with candles and all of that, and the amazing view of this lot. Quite romantic indeed, for Sims on honeymoon or something like that. Another thing that instantly popped in my mind when I was watching Devin Bumpkin's video was American Horror Story, specifically season 5 that's called Hotel. It's the one with Lady Gaga in it, and it's curiously the only season I haven't watched, but I know what it is about, and it is obviously a horror show. It matched perfectly with the abandoned build, and the whole haunted and vampirish concept, which kind of inspired me to write my little story to go with the build. So I'll just leave that little fun fact in there for you. But I had a lot of fun, like just researching the goths and the land grabs to come up with something that could connect the two in-game families, because they're quite notable and every sim player has run into them in the gameplay, if not played with them. So I did a throwback to The Sims 2, which is where my story begins, and I explored the storylines the Goths were originally given, like Bella's disappearance. And a curious thing is that she apparently has actual witch skills, like I wrote, but the Book of Spells and that part of the story is in fact of some other goth lady called Raven Dancer. She is probably one of the very first goths, medieval woman that can only be noticed through descriptions of items in the previous games or something like that. And the rest of the story matches the game as well. I don't know if I'm just too obsessed with Sims that I can't think of anything else outside this amazing simulated world. But yeah, it's something closer to me anyway. And the book I mentioned is in one of the bedrooms here. In this one, actually hidden away for Malcolm Landgrab to find and get adventurous. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much for watching this. You can download this in the gallery, and I hope you had a lovely day or night wherever you are. And thank you so much, Aiden, for this awesome build, and I'll see you next time. Bye.